Morning, everybody. It is April 21st, 8:11 a.m. Welcome to my channel. Now, the markets are always giving us something. Hope everybody had a good Easter, by the way. Hope the markets are always giving us something to deal with. Usually seems like over the weekends. This is no different. Looks like Trump is looking to get rid of Powell, causing some unrest. And also, China is looking to basically, we'll look at that later, but China's basically getting involved in basically trying to make some power moves also. All right, so it's getting kind of crazy still with this China trade war. They're not like laying down at all. So we'll just, again, more uncertainty in these markets, more uncertainty. So we're currently gapping down and we're at a key level basically. And this key level, if it we give up this key level, we could start pushing really into that big candle on that 11% move that one day when Trump caused for a 90-day pause of tariffs. So that's the story today. All right. So without further ado, welcome to my channel. My name is Steven Gonzalez. I use market profile and volume profile to find structure in the markets, along with supply and demand, gamma exposure levels, the most traded price of the year, the month, the week, in the previous day. This is how I look at markets. This is the way that I construct data from the markets, and it's just easy for me to look at every day and come up with a plan. Okay. Now, hopefully, you join me every day. Every morning, I try to give you the story of the markets, what's going on, the leaders, the laggards, the market news, the economic calendar, the 411 on the markets. Okay. We also go over daily charts and we'll go over ES and NASDAQ futures for analysis. And I will give long and short trade scenarios for both instruments. All right. And those two main instruments pretty much drive the market. So, whatever my feeling is on both of those markets can also go into a stock, options, whatever, because they affect everything. So that's why I choose to analyze those both. It doesn't mean I have to trade ES and NASDAQ day. I can use that on a stock. I can use it whatever I want to do. Okay? All right. So why don't we get right into this? All right. And see what's moving markets. Okay. So here we are. We got our futures watch list up here. Here we go. And the VIX is leading. Like I said, we're gapping lower. So it is up 8.67%. We're at a 32 VIX. The volume is still relatively low today. Maybe that's from Easter, the holiday. So volume's still relatively low. Last week you had a bunch of relatively low volume except for one day. So let's get into it. So Ethereum is up 3.06, Bitcoin's up 2.88. Gold continued to rise, up 2.57. 10-year yield is going up. That is kind of nuts. Up 1.69. Silver is up 1.48. Dow is down 1%. Russell's down 1%. 30-year bonds down over 1%. ES down 1.18%. The dollar is down 1.22%, down to $98. The Nasdaq's down 1.45% in crude. I see that. I think I saw earlier that the U.S. is improving talks with Iran, which is making crude pull back. Okay, crude had a little nice move. We'll have to see what happens with crude. All right, moving on to the Mag 7 Plus here. And Netflix. Netflix is leading the pack, up 1.85. They had earnings at the close on Thursday. Okay, and they were good. So that's followed by Coinbase, the little proxy for Bitcoin. That's up 0.90. And the rest you just got red. Well, let's start with the one percenters. You got Google down 1.18. They report earnings this week. Boeing down 1.30. Meta's down 1.67. Amazon's down 1.74. AMD down 2.23. Broadcom down 2.33. Apple's down 2.53. Nvidia is down 3.15%. It's at 98.28 right now. Tesla is down 4%. 4%. They are down to 231. Okay. That's what's going on there. All right. I think we can get right over to the economic calendars. Some market news. Okay. We'll look at this week. We'll go over earnings as well. All right, let's look at today. There's not really. Let's go to one star. Is there anything today? We have a 3-month bill auction and a 6-month bill auction. That's really doesn't usually move the market. Usually, let's go to back to the 2 stars. So tomorrow we have Fed speak. 3 Fed speakers tomorrow. You have crude, API crude, another Fed. Wednesday we have 30-year mortgage. More Fed speak. Right. This guy's Fed Waller speaking right after the open. Then you have S&P Global Composite Manufacturing and Services at 9:45 on Wednesday, 10 a.m. new home sales. Then you got crude inventories Thursday. You have Chicago Fed initial jobless claim existing home sales and Fed speak at 5 p.m. Friday you have Michigan consumer sentiment. Michigan consumer sentiment. Okay, so that's the week there. Now as far as earnings, let's look at earnings this week. Now, before the open today, really not much of anything. After the close today, really nothing to speak of. And every day I'll go over what's going to report in the morning and after the close. So tomorrow, before the open, you got Verizon, GE, Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, okay, Quest Diagnostics, Halliburton, Kimberly Clark. Tuesday, after the close, Tesla, right, Intuitive Surgical, all right, after the end phase. SAP, Capital One. Okay. So this, I'm just going to mention these. We know we have Boeing and a bunch of others to come, but I'll mention them every day. Of course, the big ones this week are really Tesla and Google. Those are the monster ones, but then there's other important ones as well. Okay. Moving back over to some news. Okay, so let's look at some stock news. So we have Netflix shares rose after shares in Netflix edged higher in pre-market. U.S. trading after executives at the streaming service suggested that they were confident that it could withstand economic fallout from Trump's tariffs. Taiwan Semiconductors American depository receipts were lower after the contract chip giant's Arizona subsidiary reported a loss of 14.3 billion last year. Tesla shares dropped after Wedbush Securities analyst Dan Ives said the electric vehicle maker faces a code red moment prior to its first quarter earnings this week. Tesla is also grappling with a delay of several months to the production launch of lower cost model of its Model Y offering, according to Reuters. Magnificent Seven stocks, a group of mega cap technology names that includes Tesla, Facebook owner Meta Platforms, e-commerce titan Amazon, Google parent Alphabet, iPhone manufacturer Apple, software group Microsoft, and artificial intelligence darling Nvidia retreated. The shares were weighed down by U.S. dollar, which weakened after Trump revived threats to oust Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell. Capital One has received approval from U.S. regulators to buy Discover Financial Services, sending shares in both higher. Minor Barrick Gold climbed more than 3% after the price of gold touched a new record high. All right. Now, the one thing I wanted to talk about here, we know about the Trump Fed. We know about Trump's thing here. Let's go back to crude. I think we got to go over here for this. Let's go to the juice real quick before I go to more news. So basically, let's see what China, because there was this thing about China in here. So basically, U.S. stock futures and currency fell substantially as traders reacted to the potential that Trump will attempt to dismiss Fed's Powell. I know the China thing was in here, and I just read it earlier of what China is planning to do. I guess it's not in here. I guess I didn't read it in here. Okay. Let's just make sure here. Maybe I don't have the risk out right now. I do. Okay. Move over to this news here. Google faces trial in U.S. bid to end search monopoly. Talked about, it says preview Tesla's affordable EV, robotaxis in focus after Musk backlash, competition hurt demand. Boeing eases latest 737 MAX headache, a shortage of nuts and bolts. Okay, let's see here. All right, so let's read this thing here. Wall Street futures fell on worries about the U.S. central bank's independence after Donald Trump ignited fears of firing Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell. In Asia, China stocks rose to two-week highs after Premier Li Jiang urged government officials to strengthen its efforts to stabilize markets. Japan Nikkei dropped 1%, weighed by a stronger yen that pressured exporters as investors eyed U.S. Japan currency talks. Oil prices took a hit on signs of progress in talks between U.S. and Iran. That was what I was talking about before. All right. So let's see here. American Express, JP Morgan raised the target price to 260 from 244. Charles Schwab, TD Cowen raised his target price 95 from 88. DR Horton, JP Morgan cuts target price to 111 from 132. And Netflix Piper Sandler raised the target price to 1150 from 1100. Wow, Netflix is on fire. Netflix is on fire. All right. I think we're going to move the daily charts. Okay. Let's go to that. We're going to look at our good old SPY. All right, here's our daily charts. All right, so it's been pretty messy market as of late. Remember, this is the 2024 anchored VWAP. So that's basically buyers at the beginning of the year. Of last year, they're still underwater. Okay. Now, if we dive in deeper here, you can see there's just this consolidation. You could even call it a little bit of a head and shoulders here in a daily. Shoulder, head, shoulder, neckline around 520, right? And you can see what we did on Thursday, inside day. You're in the middle of that session, and I just stayed away. That was just, you're looking to get chopped up. We just really didn't do much of anything. Not very high quality trades on that day. Okay, where are we at now? We closed at 526. We're at 520 right now. So we are down here at that key level I was talking about. Okay, we're right at that key level. What do? Do we take these levels out? There's that one big candle, right? We're still working in the middle of that big candle. So we have to see. We have to see. This current swing low, that is 481.80. That is the low right now. Do we revisit it? I don't know. We just have to see. Let's look at futures just to get a little view of how the market actually looks right now. So there's last week's lows, last week's highs. Okay, we're sitting right here at last week's lows, and you can see there's a low here, there's a low here, and we just have to see what we do with this. Okay, looking at the Qs. Okay, same thing. It's been kind of messy. You can see kind of this area right here around 440, 441. It's been supportive, right? You still have that kind of head and shoulders I was kind of talking about earlier. You have a gap here as well, unfilled gap. So where are we at? We closed at 444. We're at 437 right now. So we are right here, right at this low. Okay, let's look at futures. You can see last week's lows were right there. And if you look across in futures, there's a low here, there's a low here, there's a low here. Right? If you lose this, that is going to be not good for markets. Okay. So keep an eye on that. All right, moving on to your triple-headed monster. Let's look at that bond market, which has been crazy. Crazy. Okay, so this is very interesting. Very interesting. All right, looking at our triple headed monster. This is the bond market. Now, there's fear in the markets. We're at a 32 VIX, and the yields are rising. People are selling bonds. Very odd. It's not correlated. Usually, fear brings in lower yields as people buy bonds. So this is definitely a little odd. I'm not saying it's never happened in history before, but this is the anchor V up for the year. You can see it's been resistance. You can see this is the anchor V up of last year, and that's been we broke that, came back above it. That's been support, right? So just have to see, can this swing high be taken out again? It's kind of nuts. It's kind of a wait and see. Now that dollar is breaking down. This is not good. Big swing low, big swing low. If we go back farther and farther, this goes back, I think I have this chart going back 3 years. We definitely have not seen this price for 3 years. Okay. Key level is about 97,727. This is not very good because that means the world reserve currency, which is the US dollar, is weakening against other currencies. Okay. So what those currencies would be, you should see a spike here in the euro. There it is. Look at that. Look at that chart of the euro. Wow. That's a nice move. And then we should also see the yen move higher. Look at the move in the yen. Okay. So those currencies are the largest currencies weighted against the dollar in that little basket. All right. So they are moving up, and that's going to push the dollar down. Okay. Let's look at our fear gauge. That's your VIX. All right, let's look at this volatility. We're all the way up at 60. We came down, but we're holding here, right? This is the previous month's highs. Okay, and you can see we're just in this range, and this is pretty high VIX to just stay there. Okay, this market just has so much uncertainty. That's why this VIX is not getting crushed. There's just so much uncertainty. And look, every weekend we have something to talk about on Monday morning, right? There's some kind of something that comes out that makes it seem more murky, more uncertainty. So hence the VIX is staying in this 30 range. Okay. Now, a 16 VIX is a 1% expected move in the markets, S&P 500. Okay. Well, we're at a 32 VIX. So that means you have a 2% expected move today. Okay. Just think about that. It's double of a 16. So expect ranges, expansion, right? Volatility, right? We have lower volume, but with the volatility like this, you're going to get bigger ranges. Okay. Because even on last Thursday, it was a small little range inside of a bigger range, but the range was something like 70 points. That is not a small range. So that's just because of the volatility. Alrighty, moving on. We're going to move on to the market profile, volume profile analysis. Okay, moving on. All right, get my trusty marker out here. Okay, so what do we have here? First, you want to look at is the rolling profile. Here, you got a little bit of excess here. You got value, and then you got a little bit of excess here. Price is right there. So essentially, you have balance. Okay, balance. Okay, most traded price of the week currently still sits up at 54.60. It's probably going to change today. It's probably going to move here to about 53.25. But that's the real-time trading hours one. 24 hours is this level, 53.25. Okay. But this is the rolling profile. Remember, this doesn't take in account Sunday night and Sunday night overnight session. This is only real-time trading hours. So that should probably shift, like I said. All right. So this is your session. This is your your weekly profile. Very balanced. Okay. The job of the market, right, would be to take this most traded price, move it lower, right? show acceptance here where you can possibly move lower. Okay, if it can't do that, we're just going to hang out here again. And we're in earnings, right? Earnings season has started. So there's going to be a lot of craziness pre-market, more than times than not aftermarket with Google, Tesla, right after the market close. All right. So you can see this little baby session. That was Friday in futures. That is, you don't even look at that. It doesn't even matter. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to merge this session so I look at it as one. Okay. All right. So we are currently gapping lower, right? So we have Thursday's lows, 52.85.75. The highs up here. Okay. Now this white line also is your gap fill. Okay. In futures, you look at highs and lows. You don't really go by the close. Okay. So that's our gap fill. You have supply here. And the only reason this demand has been broken, but it's such a key support. Let's just call it 52.50. Look at this support here, right? We've came down here once. We came down here again. And now we're down here again. Okay. Can this hold? Don't know. Right? Nobody knows that. You can see last week's lows are right here. 52.55, 52.51. Okay, that is last week's lows. Okay. You could see a downtrend forming, right? Downtrend right here. Lower high, lower high, lower high, right? Lower low, a little bit of a lower low. And you just have to see what happens here. Okay. All right, let's look if there's any more levels that we could talk about. Let me see here. So we know we got a gap fill, 52.85. We have supply here. You have the most traded price of Thursday right here. Happens to be the most traded price of the week. Right, but I'm just trying to see. Really not much here. Because you have 50, I would call it between 53.70 and 53.60. You have this area, and there's supply here. Okay. It's really all about this 52.50. Okay, this 52.50 area. And you can see, if you look to the left here, there's that big candle with single prints, right? We had single prints really pretty much thin volume go right back down to it. But then you have these single prints lower here that can really, I'm going to take this up. I'm going to take this up so you guys can see. All right, see more of those single prints. So we'll just quickly, levels to watch here. There's that 52.50 we keep talking about. Here's gap fill with supply right here. Okay, and we got the 53.70 to 53.60 right there. It's really what I'm looking at. Okay, it's really what I'm looking at. You can see the midpoint of the session is 52.72. All right. So let's really see what happens. Okay, let's really see what happens. You do have some negative news. You do have a little bit of, excess here. Okay. Is this market gonna hold this level? We don't know, right? Nobody knows that. And we're gonna get right into scenarios here. I think it's all about that 52.50 level. Okay. So we're going to start out with the bear side. Actually, you know what? Let's start out with the bull side first. Okay. Price is down here. 52.50. This is definitely a liquidity zone here. Okay. It's all about, can you close and sustain, find acceptance below this level? If you can't, we probably go back up. So in a bull case, right, this could be a bear trap. If we hit this, take out this overnight low, and if we do something like this, whoop, go right back into range, higher low, probably can start making yourself through here and try to go back up. Okay, and then we just stay in this kind of balance area. Okay. Now, one other thing that can happen, and I don't like this big supply zone here, but this is the most traded price at overnight right here around 52.69. Price can push up into this supply, fall back, hold this, and also go up. I don't like that as much as I do the market holding here. Okay, that's really all I see for longs. All right, now we're looking at shorts. What do we need to do? We need to break this level and hold. Find acceptance below it, which really could take this could take a dump. You can go all the way down to clean these single prints up from that day over here. Okay, and that level would be around 50.87. Okay, that's a straight shot down. That's if the market gets weak and you take out these lows. Okay, very, very important. Now, we could get some reflexive bounce here. So market could open up, fill the gap, and then put a lower high into the supply, lower high, come through the most traded price, 52.69, and then come through here. If you bust through, hold, we could work our way back down. Okay, it's kind of all I'd be looking at, to be honest with you. That is your ES. Let's move over to the NASDAQ. All right, let's look at the NASDAQ together. All right, let's merge these. Give me a second here while I merge. Alrighty. All right, so you can see the same thing in the NASDAQ, right? Here's the profile. It's very balanced. Okay, the rolling week profile. Now, the one big difference in the NASDAQ is you have ultimate balance at 184. Ultimate balance at 184. You have the most traded price of Thursday, the most traded price of the rolling week, the rolling month, all at 184. Okay, and what this means is a big move is coming. This just means the most agreed upon price is 184 in the NASDAQ. Okay, happens to be basically the month of day VWAP as well. So it's all about this level, this area here in the NASDAQ, this 180. That's like 180, 116 to about 180.70. This area. Okay, it's been supportive multiple times. Price is right there right now. Okay, now ultimate balance just means, like I said, the most traded price, the fairest price of doing business in the NASDAQ has been 184. The farther you go away from that, the bigger the move that's going to happen. The more you stay going in this area, just the bigger move. It's just this coiled up spring. The more coiling, the more energy, and we're going to have a big move. Okay, so this is all long and shorts are in here. The farther you go down, longs get hurt. You go back up, shorts get hurt. Simple as that. Okay, so right now we have gap fill 182.61 right there. You have supply here, and you have this big 184 level. So that's a very big level. Okay, and that matches up with the overnight highs. So that becomes a confluence high, this 184. Okay, so right now I like the levels in the NASDAQ. They were a little more clear, right? Because you got that big 184 level. And then gap fill. Okay. Single prints from that big day of ripping, right? You cleaned up a little bit of them, right? You still have this much, right? So these are our single prints all the way down to 176. If you get weakness in the market and the market is weak, the market should rip through these. Okay. All right. Let's get into some scenarios here. Okay. Alrighty. We're going to start with bull side. Same thing. This area. Price is here. Right. It needs to break this area. So if the market moves in here and can't find acceptance lower and does one of these, like I said, higher low, it could start working itself back to where 184. If it could take out 184 and hold, we're going to start moving back up. You have an unfilled gap up here. Who knows if we fill it or not? Fill would be around 189. Okay, that's what I'm looking at there. It's kind of like the only thing I would probably be interested in. Okay, you have last week's lows right here, 181.16. Could possibly be a pullback into that. Possibly go like this and hold. Also go up to 184. Okay. Now, as far as the short side, okay, it's all about this range down here, right? All about this range, all about the 184. Sandwiched in between that is the overnight session, so it makes it pretty easy to see where areas you're going to be interested in participating in. Okay, if the market does just gap and go, you could find itself just pushing down and cleaning these single prints to 176. You could also get a pullback into this area, right? Supply is here, and you also have this 184. 184 is really your bear bull line. If it gets rejected here and you do this, I don't know if we go all the way to single prints then, but you could see some sell-off maybe taking out the overnight lows. Okay, so 184 is the line in the sand in this market in the Nasdaq. Okay, over 184, then it turns a little more bullish. So mark that on your charts. 184. Okay, that's really all I'm seeing today. All right. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that analysis. Please smash the like button if you did enjoy that analysis. All right. Now hopefully you can join me every morning. Subscribe, set that alert. All right. I do this every morning. Get the market news, economic calendar, the leaders and the laggards. What's going on in the markets basically. Okay. And I just gave you the long and short trade scenarios in the ES and the Nasdaq. I do tend to like the structure better than the Nasdaq. Okay. But we have a plan. All right. Today. I'm going to sit back. It's Monday. Monday's usually a little harder to judge in the morning. And just sit back and watch. Okay. And see what we do. We're already at that big place of interest. So that could be possibly the long. Right. I don't love a short. I don't like gap and go shorts. So I'm not a fan of that. We could possibly do that. I like to get some type of pullback. But we just have to see. Okay. We just have to see. So everybody have a great day. Stay patient. We have our plan. No trade's a trade. Try to stay green. All right. And everybody have a great day. And I'll see everybody tomorrow.